Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving into some really significant regulatory shifts happening in the Canadian cannabis landscape. We've been digging through the summary of changes following the streamlining of regulations from Canada.ca. And well, our mission here is to pull out the most important insights from these updates. We really want to understand their true impact, on the legal cannabis market and crucially, what this all means for you, whether you're already holding a license or maybe thinking about applying.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. What's really clear is that the core idea behind these amendments, and they mostly kicked in March 12, 2025, with a couple bits on April 1st, the intent is clearly to cut down the regulatory burden and also to boost diversity and competition in the legal market, all while, of course, keeping those key public health and safety goals front and center. And this isn't just fiddling around the edges. It touches a whole bunch of regulations, the cannabis regulations, the act itself, the tracking system order, even industrial hemp regs. It's a pretty broad evolution.
Right. I'm really curious about how some of these changes might affect sort of the grassroots level of the industry. For anyone maybe dreaming of starting a smaller cannabis operation or even scaling one up, this first part could be a real game changer, sounds like. It's focused on accessibility and growth for those smaller players.
Absolutely. And one of the first things really speaks to that. For non-human and non-animal research, you actually don't need a specific research license anymore to have up to 30 grams of dried cannabis or, its equivalent, provided the activities meet the criteria in Section 28.1 of the regs.
Okay, so that lowers the bar quite a bit for certain types of research.
Exactly. Think universities, private labs. It cuts on the admin, the cost. It's a big help for small-scale research. And if you already have one of those licenses, you can choose to keep it or revoke it. We'll make sure all the specific contact info for Health Canada, like the email addresses and subject lines for questions or revocations, is in our show notes for you. But yeah, the main point is a clearer path for that kind of scientific work. Then we get to some pretty significant changes to the limits for microcultivation, nursery, and microprocessing licenses. These are quite substantial.
All right, let's hear them.
So microcultivation, you can now have a grow surface area up to 800 square meters.
800, okay.
For nurseries, focusing on propagation, it's up to 200 square meters for flowering or budding plants. And they can hold up to 20 kilograms of harvested flowering heads at any time.
Right.
And here's maybe the biggest one. Microprocessing licenses now allow possession of up to 2,400 kilograms of dried cannabis, or its equivalent, in a calendar year.
Whoa, okay, hold on. 2,400 kilograms for microprocessing.
Yeah.
That's a massive leap from before, isn't it?
It really is a significant increase.
So for our listeners, does bumping that limit up so much introduce maybe new challenges like market saturation risks or even quality control at that kind of micro volume?
That's a really sharp point.
Yeah.
Yeah, more volume definitely means more opportunity to scale, but it absolutely demands strong internal quality processes. Health Canada seems to be banking on growth here, trusting license holders will maintain those good production practices. And for folks holding standard licenses now, you can actually switch to a micro or nursery subclass if these new limits fit your operation. That usually comes with a lower annual regulatory fee, which is a plus.
Okay, that makes sense.
But, and this is really important, if you switch from standard processing to microprocessing, you can't produce cannabis by synthesis anymore. That's a key trade-off.
Got it. No synthesis for microprocessors.
Right. And again, we'll have all the specific steps for making those license changes in the show notes, the emails, the subject lines you need. The overall goal here seems to be nurturing a more diverse market where smaller businesses can genuinely compete and, well, thrive.
So yeah, putting it all together, it really feels like for anyone passionate about smaller scale cultivation or specialized processing, the door just swung open quite a bit wider, like real opportunities opening up, making it easier to jump in or grow within the market.
Okay, so beyond getting the license itself, there's some other changes that sound like they could really smooth out the day-to-day operations, making things more flexible, more efficient.
That's exactly right. Let's talk personnel first. Quality assurance persons, or QAP's vital role, ensuring quality and compliance. Previously, processors were capped at 2 alternates.
Right, I remember that limit.
Well, that cap is gone. You can have more than 2 alternate QAPs now. And QAPs can officially delegate activities, though they still hold the ultimate responsibility.
Okay, so more flexibility there, fewer bottlenecks maybe. Precisely. Better business continuity, especially if you're running multiple shifts or have a larger operation. You can request these changes through the CTLS system, or email if you're still an applicant. Again, details in the notes. And building on that ease of operation theme, cannabis pollen.
Colin, okay.
Yeah, new cultivation, nursery, and research licenses. They'll automatically allow obtaining, selling, or distributing pollen.
Oh, interesting. So no separate permission needed?
Nope. Cuts down red tape. Means breeders, researchers, they can get right into genetic work without extra hoops. Streamlines innovation.
Makes sense.
Then there's some very practical shifts around site presence and security. This is pretty big. The rule about needing a security-cleared person on site during cannabis activities, that's gone.
Really?
Yeah, and they don't need to accompany cannabis for off-site antimicrobial treatments anymore either.
Wow, okay. That must offer a lot more flexibility for staffing, logistics.
Huge flexibility.
Yeah.
Especially for smaller outfits or when you need specialized off-site help. It cuts operational costs, boosts efficiency. It's a clear move.
All right, what else on security? You said it was pretty big.
It is. Physical security measures, they've been significantly scaled back for many license types. Standard cultivation, standard processing, medical sale with possession. Oh, okay, get this. No intrusion detection needed for the site perimeter.
No perimeter alarms required.
Correct. And for visual recordings,
Mm-hmm.
motion activated is now sufficient for that 1-year retention. Simpler surveillance. Storage areas don't have specific location rules anymore. You're not locked into one particular high-security room design.
Okay.
You also don't need to log every single person entering and leaving storage areas anymore.
Wow.
And operations areas, they get a break from some physical security rules when there are no activities or cannabis present. Just common sense, really.
Yeah, that seems logical.
And crucially, cultivation waste, leaves, branches, meant for destruction. That can now be stored in operations areas, even outdoor grow spots, as long as you follow good production practices.
So less hassle managing waste storage, too.
Exactly. This whole shift in physical security it's monumental.
Yeah.
Think about the money tied up in complex alarm systems, fortified rooms,
Right, that capital could go elsewhere. R&D, expansion.
or even lowering prices. It signals more trust from Health Canada, focusing less on physical barriers, more on accountability. Now, license holders or applicants might need to send in an updated organizational security plan, an OSP, to reflect these changes. We'll point you to how to do that.
Okay, that's a lot on security. What else smooths out the daily grind?
Well, a few more things. The 1-gram limit for pre-rolled dried cannabis, removed. More product format options.
Good for producers.
Ethyl alcohol now allowed in small amounts.
Yeah.
Up to 10 milligrams per activation in extracts for inhalation, and denatured alcohol in topicals. Opens doors for formulation.
Interesting.
And for substances applied to cannabis, you don't have to record the quantity, method, or why you used it anymore. Less admin burden there.
Okay.
And finally, cannabis destruction.
Yeah.
Also streamlined.
How so?
For cultivation waste. Record keeping and witnessing requirements are totally gone.
No logging every leaf anymore?
Nope. Imagine the time saved for cultivators, especially small ones. Huge relief.
Definitely.
For other cannabis destruction, you don't need to record the address or method of destruction or the weight of plants destroyed. Now you just record the number of plants. Much simpler. And the witness. Only one employee needed now, and they don't have to be security cleared. Again, simpler, less demanding.
Wow, yeah, across the board, that's a significant easing of the administrative load. But from Health Canada side, what's the thinking? Is there a risk that less prescription means, I don't know, more potential for non-compliance? Does it make oversight harder?
That's a fair question to ask. The philosophy seems to be shifting, right? Moving from a very prescriptive, do exactly this model to something more focused on outcomes. By easing up on lower risk stuff, the idea is probably that Health Canada can focus its oversight resources where the risks are genuinely higher, public health, safety.
Okay, so redirecting focus.
Yeah, it's like saying, okay, industry, you're maturing. We expect you to manage these details responsibly within broader guidelines rather than micromanaging every single step. It's a calculated step.
Right, makes sense. Okay, this next section feels pretty consumer-facing. It's all about how products actually get from the producer to you, the consumer. Updates to labels, packaging, reporting. It really seems to point towards more commercial flexibility, less red tape in how things are presented and tracked.
Absolutely. And let's start with information delivery, that consumer information document. Licensed processors don't need to give paper copies to retailers or consumers anymore.
Oh, okay. Moving digital.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Saves paper, saves distribution costs. But, and this is important, medical sellers and hospitals still have to provide it to their registered clients or patients. That vital health info stays accessible there.
Got it. Medical context is different.
Right. Then import-export. Also simplified. License holders don't need to specify the exact ports of entry-exit or the customs office address for import permits anymore.
Small detail, but probably helps smooth out international trade logistics.
Exactly. Makes things a bit more agile for cross-border stuff. Now, let's dig into packaging and labeling. This is where things get really interesting. Lots of changes aimed at market responsiveness, maybe even innovation.
Okay, break it down for us.
All right. First, visually. Caps and containers can be different colors now. More branding flexibility.
Simple enough.
Cutout windows are allowed for dried cannabis, fresh cannabis, and seeds, so you can actually see the product.
Nice for consumers.
And transparent packaging is okay now for dried and fresh cannabis, too. Again, more transparency.
Good. What else?
Information on the pack. You can put images or info on wrappers if another law requires it, like maybe a recycling symbol. Helps with overall compliance.
Practical.
Barcodes, additional ones like QR codes, are now explicitly allowed. Think links to websites, more product info. Opens up digital engagement.
QR codes make sense.
Labels themselves. Accordion and peel-back labels are okay now. Lets you fit more info in a small space. And you can include informational inserts or leaflets with any cannabis product.
More ways to get info across.
Co-packing. This is a big one for efficiency. It's now allowed for dried, fresh, extracts, topicals, and edibles.
Co-packing, so putting multiple units in one outer package.
Exactly. As long as the products inside are the same type, same properties, and the total equivalent is 30-gram dried cannabis or less.
Okay.
Big efficiency gain for production lines, potentially lower costs. But importantly, the THC limits on the immediate containers don't change, and you don't need a packaging date on the outermost co-pack label.
Got it. What about the label content? Any streamlining there?
Oh yes, you don't need that equivalency statement anymore, or the phrase, no expiry date has been determined.
Okay, simplifying things.
Potency info now just needs total THC and total CBD. Clearer, simpler display. And that potency info. The font size can now be as large as the health warning message. Makes it much easier for consumers to see the key numbers quickly.
That's a good change. Easier to read potency.
There's also some wiggle room on the packaging date displayed. The actual date can be up to 7 days before or after the date printed on the label. Adds practical flexibility for high-speed packaging lines.
Okay, slight variance allowed.
And a key practical point. There's a 1-year grace period until March 12, 2026 for license holders to use up old labels.
Good transition period.
And retailers can sell products with the old labels indefinitely. Avoids massive inventory write-offs.
Smart. Okay, that covers packaging pretty thoroughly. What about product notices or reporting?
Right. Notice of new cannabis products. That 60-day notice. It's no longer required for dried and fresh cannabis.
Oh, so faster to market for flower and fresh.
Much faster. If you already submitted one, you can sell immediately. Big speed increase. But for new topicals, extracts, or edibles, you still need that 60-day notice.
Okay, distinction based on product type.
Also, you don't need to keep records of ingredient lists for extracts, topicals, or edibles when you sell, distribute, or export them anymore. Less paperwork.
Good. What about the CTS reporting?
Monthly Cannabis Tracking System reporting changes on April 1st, 2025. You won't need to report on plant trimmings or cultivation waste for whole or vegetative plants anymore.
Less data entry for cultivators, sounds like.
Significantly less. And the unit for unpackaged seeds changes from kilograms to just a count. More intuitive. That annual promotion report, gone. Don't need to submit or keep it.
Seriously, no annual promo report.
You still need to keep a sample or copy of your promo materials for 2 years, but not the whole expense report. Frees up resources.
Definitely a less burden.
And finally, a couple more reporting tweaks. Key investor reporting is simpler. Don't need to report ownership interest assignments, and wholly owned publicly traded companies don't need to submit that report.
Streamlining for bigger players.
And for hemp seed derivatives. Big changes under the industrial hemp regs. Testing, import-export rules, that 10 ppm THC limit, wholesale labeling requirements, all removed.
Wow, really opening up industrial hemp.
Yeah, treating it much more like a standard agricultural commodity. Big potential there.
It really paints a clear picture, doesn't it? A market definitely shifting towards more commercial freedom, less admin tangle, especially around getting products out there and tracking them. Sounds like a potential win for innovation and maybe consumer choice, too. Now, while a lot of this feels like, cutting red tape, deregulation, there are still oversight mechanisms, right? And some important details about what still needs a license. It's an interesting balance they're striking, removing bureaucratic weight, but holding on to certain key controls.
Precisely. And let's touch on one of those key controls. Health Canada has a new Very specific power now. They can suspend any licenses if there's a contravention of the cannabis fees order.
Ah, so paying your fees is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. While they're easing up elsewhere, financial compliance is clearly a line in the sand. It's a targeted enforcement tool.
Makes sense. What about the licensing nuances?
Right. You can now produce, import, export, sell, and even process derivatives using those exempted plant parts listed in Schedule 2 of the Act without a license.
Exempted parts, so like stalks, roots.
Exactly. Think fiber, grain, things not typically used for cannabinoids. Big for the industrial hemp side, using non-psychoactive parts for clothing, building materials, food. No cannabis license needed for that.
Okay, clear distinction.
However, and this is the crucial bit, if your goal is to isolate or concentrate phytocannabinoids from those parts, even from hemp stalks, like extracting CBD,
Then you still need a license.
you still need a cannabis processing license. That control over concentrated cannabinoid production remains firmly in place due to different public health considerations.
Got it. Control the concentrates, free up the raw materials.
That seems to be the principle. And for license holders whose activities might now be exempt, you can choose to keep or revoke your license. Applicants might find they don't actually need one now. Again, we'll have instructions in the notes.
It really does highlight that tightrope walk, doesn't it? Pushing for commercial freedom, but knowing exactly where the critical risk points are that demand strict oversight feels like a sign of the industry and the regulation maturing. So, okay, let's try and wrap this up. What does this all really mean? We've gone pretty deep into these sweeping changes in Canada's cannabis rules, from empowering smaller operations and researchers to streamlining packaging, reporting, even security. These updates feel like a pretty significant step, a step towards a more mature, maybe more competitive, and definitely less burdensome legal cannabis market here in Canada, all while trying to keep public safety front and center. It kind of suggests maybe a growing confidence in the industry's ability to manage itself, letting regulators focus on the really high-risk stuff.
I think that that's a fair summary. And if we zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a really interesting question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What can these targeted deregulations, this specific kind of easing up, teach us about how other new or heavily regulated industries might evolve? Think about craft brewing maybe. It started super strict, then controls loosened as the sector matured and proved itself. How might Canada's approach here influence what other countries do with cannabis? Or even, how we regulate totally different emerging tech or products down the road? Could this be like a bit of a blueprint for managing innovation in regulated spaces?
That's definitely something to chew on, a potential blueprint. Interesting. Well, think about that as you go about your day. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and stay well informed.